All right, Karuna.
कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यच्छ्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधिमान् त्वां प्रपन्नम् व्यामिश्रेणेव वाक्येन बुद्धिं मोहयसीव मे तदेकं वद निश्चित्य येन श्रेयो हमाप्नुयाम् ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां हृद्देशेऽर्जुन तिष्ठति भ्रामयन् सर्वभूतानि यन्त्रारूढानि मायया.
Thank you very much, Karuna. So the very first verse she recited, that is from chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga. And that's verse number 7. Then the second one, verse number 2 of chapter number 3. And the title of that chapter is Karma Yoga. And the third shloka from the last chapter, Moksha Sannyas Yoga, chapter 18, and verse number 61. So you can open your books. And in that very first shloka, that shlok number 7, chapter number 2, Arjuna is saying this. He is admitting to Lord Krishna that I am confused. See, that is the very first step. Normally, our ego does not let us admit this. We think we know it all. When we can recognize, realize that we are confused, only then we will try to get the answer. If you remember in the chapter number 1, Vishad Yoga, Arjuna was not admitting. He kept giving the reasons for not to fight. But over here, he is admitting now. He says, my heart is overpowered by the taint of pity. My mind is confused. See, Atma doesn't get confused. Atma is part of God, pure, divine, blissful. Mind gets confused. He says, Tvam dharam samooda cheta. My mind is confused as to duty, dharam. I don't know what my dharam is. Then he says, I ask you, tell me decisively, nishchitam. So when we are confused, we want to know decisively what is the right path. I ask thee, tell me decisively what is good for me. We all want to do good. We all want to walk on the path of purity. But we really don't know. I am your disciple, he says. Tat me shishye te aham shadhi maam tvam prapannam. I am your disciple, instruct me who has taken refuge in you. This is the great moment in Bhagavad Gita, when for the first time Arjuna requests Lord Krishna to be his guru. To be his guru. So in this verse, we can see Arjuna has completely realized the helpless impotency in himself. He cannot come to any decision. and he surrenders totally to Lord Krishna. And he is confessing that his intellect, his mind has gone behind a cloud of confusions. See, mind doesn't go anywhere. It's only a veiling over the mind which does not let us see clearly regarding what is dharam and what is adharam. A lot of times we just don't pay even attention. We just keep on walking on the path of adharam. But Arjun, being a son of a devta, he knew I should not walk on the path of adharam. That's why he says, I am your disciple. And this relationship between a disciple and a guru, it's a pretty unique relationship, actually. We have many, many relationships, but this relationship is unique. Because other relationships are temporary. Some relationships are only for a few months, a few days, a few years, or for this lifetime. This relationship, the relationship between a guru and a disciple, is eternal until we get the moksha. That's why there, in our scriptures we see, when they both came, Lord Krishna and Arjun, in the Nar Narayan Roop, they did the tapasya together. So now he is recognizing that this is my guru and he is the only one who can get me out of this confusion. And the student or the shishya, of course, should have the attitude of total surrender. Sure, before we surrender to a guru, we should make sure, is this my guru? We should always make sure that. Because we are supposed to surrender totally, and we should have a reverence totally. Because Guru is nothing but God for us in a human form. And the Guru also, having accepted the disciple, considers his duty to always guide the student with kindness, love, and affection. And this love and affection is 1,000 times more than any father or mother can feel for their child. But again, the student should follow faithfully every bit of instructions given out by the teacher. And teacher has the responsibility of removing all the doubts, all the confusions. Even if a student asks hundreds of times, that kind of a patient a guru should have. We saw that when we studied this Bhagavad Gita completely, how often Arjun asked Lord Krishna's the questions. The same thing Lord Krishna has explained, and he says, no, I don't understand. Please explain it to me again. And Lord Krishna never got impatient. On the other hand, each question is seen to add more enthusiasm and interest in the discourses on the battlefield. All our Vedic scriptures declare this. Through the medium of spiritual master, we receive divine knowledge for our eternal welfare. We have studied Mundak Upanishad recently. Over there, that very clearly it says to know the absolute truth, approach a guru who is both a knower of the scriptures and is practically situated on the platform of God realization. Ramayan says, Guru bin bhav nidhi tare na koi. Jan viranchi shankar samahoy. Not even the most elevated of spiritual aspirants can cross over the material ocean without the grace of the Guru. And this is what we see in this verse. This is what we see, that Arjun is confused and he says, you are my Guru. Please remove this confusion from my mind. So approaching the right place with the right attitude, not with arrogance, but with surrender. Then Arjun again says, because Lord Krishna, we all know in chapter 2, gave a lot of knowledge. That is the chapter about a very deep knowledge. But then Lord Krishna is telling him to do his duty. That's why chapter 3, the title is Karam Yoga. So Arjun gets a little perplexed. And it's okay for his disciple to ask questions. It's encouraged, rather. Because if you don't ask questions, Guru doesn't know whether you are really understanding it properly or not. So that's why in verse number 2 of chapter number 3, very openly, see, this openness has to be there in this relationship. We should never hide anything from a Guru. Actually, the Sadguru already knows, but still we need to open up also. That's our duty. He says with this apparently perplexing speech, you confuse me. As it were my understanding, therefore tell me that one way by which I for certain may attain the highest. So Arjun is confessing that he has been confused with the wealth of detail contained so far. And what he's referring to is the Sankhya Yoga chapter. It's a very long chapter, a lot of information. It's like a wealth of knowledge is there, but he says, I am confused. Because he was suffering from his own delusion. Sure, he is intellectual, but still that subtle philosophical acumen to discriminate between the subtle arguments, he could not grasp yet. He didn't know whether the path of action, the Karam Yoga, or the way of knowledge, the Gyan Yoga, was the direct approach to the infinite, the eternal. So he knew that, yes, goal of life is to reach that eternal through Karam Yoga or through Gyan Yoga. So that's why over here he says, tell me that one path by which I for certain can attain the highest. I mean, you can really see that. So he understood there are different paths. He knows what the goal is, but he doesn't know which path to walk on. So there was no doubt, even in Arjun's mind, that life was not to be squandered away in merely producing, acquiring, holding, spending the material wealth. He knew that he had to fulfill a great cultural mission in the world. He knew that material success is only a means, not the end, not the goal. So Arjun's doubt was only on how best he could make use of the instruments or the environment that presented themselves to him. He wants to carve out for himself a greater cultural growth and a fuller spiritual unfoldment in himself. So that's why clearly he's saying that if knowledge is superior to action, then why should he perform this ghastly duty of waging this war? So obviously he's listening carefully, but he thinks that there's a contradictory statements and he feels bewildered. He says, my intellect, through my intellect, I don't know, be merciful. Your desire is not to baffle me, so please dispel my doubt. So now, we all know Lord Krishna gave a lot of knowledge to him throughout all these verses, these chapters, to get his confusion out. But now there is a third verse we are going to look at today, where we see, if we remember this, while making decisions in our own life also, we'll find clarity right away. Instead of just going here and there, if we focus on this point, clarity comes. With that clear mind, we can make better decisions. It's not that we should not make the decisions. But if the mind is clear, if it's not bewildered, then we can make better decisions. So let's see what Lord Krishna is saying in this verse number 61 of chapter number 18, Moksha Sannyas Yoga. You can open your books to that one. Ishvaraha sarvabhutanam hrideshe arjuna tishtati brahmyan sarvabhutani yantra arudani maya. The Lord dwells in the hearts of all beings. We should never forget this. O Arjun, causing all beings by his elusive power to revolve as if mounted on a machine. From this verse, I see he is emphasizing the dependence of the soul on the God. So Lord Krishna is saying, Arjun, whether you choose to obey me or not, your position will always remain under my dominion. Because the body in which you reside is a machine made from my Maya. This Maya is not somebody else's. It's my Maya. Based upon your past karmas, I have given you the kind of a body you deserved. And then he adds, he says, I am seated in it too. I am with you. So the advice given by the Lord is clear and beyond all shades of doubt. What is that? Remember the Lord. When we get confused, the first thing we need to do is remember God. We try to remember everything else at that time, and we forget God. So he says, remember me, because I am the one who organizes, control, and directs all things in the world. Without my command, nothing happens, because everything is happening in his presence. Remember him as Ishvara. Do not remember the Lord as merely a personified power, but recognize him as one who dwells in the heart of everyone. This is what I see. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hrideshe arjun tishtati. Sarvabhutanam. He did not say in the human beings, or only in the male or the female, or Hindus or the Christians. None of that. Sarva means all, every being. So when we say that the Lord dwells in the heart of all living beings, we all know that that doesn't mean that physical heart. This term is a philosophical term. It is more figurative than literal. So remember that it's not a physical heart, because sometimes people think that you don't see, some people have big heart, some creatures have very small heart. So residing in the heart, meaning in the mind who has cultivated the divine qualities also. So we got to cultivate these qualities to feel the presence of God in us. Even though he is present everywhere, but for us to really feel, have love, kindness, patience, affection, forgiveness, charity. When we cultivate those qualities, there's a clarity in our mind, and then we can make better decisions. Then we can say that Lord is the one who is lending his power to all living creatures to move, to act. He is the one who's energizing us all. And this is what he means, yantra arudane maya. Everything revolves around him. We all know that pure consciousness, the soul, itself does not act. But in its presence, the matter or the prakriti gets vitalized and starts to act. See, just like a bulb cannot shine unless the electricity goes through those wires. The same relationship between the prakriti and the atma. The atma, conditioned by the body, mind, and intellect, expresses dynamism and action. And we see that supreme functioning through the total bodies as the cause of all actions is called Ishwar. Ishwar. So life functioning in each one of us is the master, controller, director, the Lord of all individual activities. Never think that we are independent of God. When we think we are independent of God, that's where the confusion starts. That's where the doubt comes. Then that's how the fear comes. That's how the loneliness comes. But when we feel that, no, God is in me, around me, in everybody, clarity comes. So in these three verses, what we have seen, sure, Arjun is admitting that he is confused. And he says, you are my guru. So we can say that guru is the one who can remove the confusion. And we are talking about a confusion about the higher goal of life. This is the confusion. Arjuna is clearly saying that. He recognizes what my goal of life is, and I'm confused, and you are telling me two paths, and I don't know which one to walk on. And from the third verse, which we just touched upon, no matter which path we walk on, some people maybe they are physically strong. They want to walk on the path of Karam Yoga, service. But still remember, God resides in every being. If we are walking on the path of Bhakti Yoga, still remember that God is in every heart. And if we think that we can walk on the path, on the Jnana Yoga, still the same thing. So that's why this verse number 61, it gives the light no matter which path we are walking on. Never forget that God is in every heart. That's Ishwar. Then we'll be able to walk on either one of those paths, or if we choose that we want to just mix it all together, still the same truth. So the Lord dwells in the hearts of all beings, so Arjun, causing all beings by his elusive power to revolve as if mounted on a machine. So remember this. And we have Urmil here also. She's, we all know that she has studied Bhagavad Gita several times. She has written a book also. She has a lot of wisdom, and I would like her to give us her wise words also about the confusion. The topic is confusion. So let me do the Shanti part first, and then, or maybe Urmil, you can start, and then at the end I'll do the Shanti part. Go.
Whatever.
Thank you. Thank you.
Harji, this 18.61, I had always wanted to understand more than before, and I'm glad you talked about it, because sitting on the machine and seated, I could never visualize that so much, but today I think I got it. Thank you very much.
Good.
I am going to go beyond the spiritual way in which Lord Krishna explains to Arjuna. And confusion, as we have said, is bewildered, is undecided, and he wants a decision to be made by God because he thinks he's an authority and he's his guru and guide. Now, when you're undecided, you can have option 1 and option 2. So in real life, what we do is we want pros and cons of option 1, pros and cons of option 2. Which is more beneficial? Which has a catch-22 in it? Where can we get checkmated? And where is the loss? And am I prepared for that loss in order to gain what I want from one option to the other? So this is where the state of confusion is. And that's where Lord Krishna also says, we need our intellect to help us weigh the benefits of one or the other. Just like in chapter 1, Arjun says, they will die, the ladies will be left without their husbands, the children will be illegitimate, and blah, blah. So these were he was weighing the pros and cons, but in spite of that, he got confused, still more confused, and he couldn't come out of it. And so he said to Lord Krishna, sorry, I'm so perplexed. I have inability to deal with complicated situation like this. It's like even if you get a manual to fix a computer or a manual to how to load a cartridge in the printer, you sometimes don't follow it. And then you go to someone and say, I'm totally baffled. Can you please really show me how to put this cartridge in the printer, even though the manual looks very simple. So when you are muddled like this and puzzled, you're feeling frustrated and you get anxious, you get agitated. So all these come into you because you are confused. And that's where you tell God, give me better intelligence so that I can do it. Now, in everyday life, we are confused about whether I should, let's say, if you are contemplating a divorce, you can't make up your mind for years sometimes. Well, I will have to go start working on my own, fend for myself, or what about the children, the custody of the children? And sometimes you don't decide for a long time, and then you tell God, okay, I leave it to you. If I am destined to be divorced, I will be divorced. And if not, this is the way life will go on, and I have to accept the cons of this and focus only on the pros. So these are the kind of thoughts we have to have in everyday life in order to really come out of the confusion. Of course, if we are not able to do it and think clearly ourselves, we go to a professional, a psychologist, or a guru, or somebody who can really help you, maybe even a sincere friend who can help you resolve something that has been bothering you. So, so what in these relationships, what happens is you have these feelings, and this confusion is expressed in the form of turmoil, commotion, disturbed mind, argumentative relationship, and all these kind of things. So the point comes, in the spiritual language, you may say it's instability or disturbed, but then you have to go into the root causes of why you are disturbed. And many of the root causes is tamasic attributes. And again, we have read tamasic attributes in chapter 14, and then we have concentrated on the better attributes in chapter 16. In the Gita, it says, when you have tamasic attributes, you cannot reason very good. And when you cannot reason, you go down and lose the power to solve the problem. When you lose the power to solve the problem, you're frustrated. When you're frustrated, you get angry. When you get angry, you get more guilty having been angry. And the sum total of all this is that you are totally lost. And this is why Arjun, anguished and overwhelmed, and had started to have compassion for the other side of the battle. And so this is not something that happens to you or me on our daily life. It happens in many plays that you may have seen. I don't know if you remember ever seeing the play Hamlet by Shakespeare. Going too far, or maybe in younger years you may have read Shakespeare, Hamlet. And in that he says, to be or not to be, that is the question. And that is the very popular punchline of that play. To be or not to be is the question. He is contemplating dying. And he thinks if he dies by suicide, it will be a sin. And if he lets somebody else kill him, then it will not be his karma, it will be the other person's karma. So to be or not to be is the question. He is trying to see whether he should face life's hardships or give up life and create a sin? So these are the kind of questions that everybody gets in everyday life. And that's when you stop to think, what is the purpose of my life? And sometimes we don't know the answer. And even if we do, we are not thinking because of the sense of confusion in us. Beyond that, he kills himself. And then Hamlet is, if he doesn't kill himself, or he thinks he's a coward, well, as an intellectual, you think, and you have to think, or you seek advice. Then comes relationships that can cause a lot of confusion and bewilderment. And one of the things that is a hot topic these days is infidelity. And not only cheating and infidelity in men, but in some women also now. And sometimes when men have cheated or gone out till late, there's a very little quotation in Hindi, and I'll translate it for those who don't understand Hindi. He says, "Yaad na kare na sahi, ye to bata chale कि नीयत खराब है या तबीयत खराब है." So this is how confused one can be. Why is he not home? Maybe he got in an accident. Maybe he got sick on the way. And yet you think he may have been cheating on me. So all these kind of thoughts, everyday thoughts, and we have to calm ourselves down to be able to deal with confusion. And then my other thoughts were muddled feelings. You are sometimes ashamed of what you have done. And then you are confused whether to tell the truth or not to tell the truth. And when you cannot tell the truth that you stole or something, you got away with telling the lie, but deep down you will always be disturbed. You will always be disturbed, and that will show in your behavior, in your some disease, some headache, and that is called malady. And nobody knows what is wrong with this person. She looks okay, she's all dressed up, she's gone, but there is something that stays inside you as a shame or guilt, and that is what leaves you confused because you are not able to express the truth. As we have been doing the niyams and yams, the truth, if not told, only becomes like a disease inside that eroding you and eroding you. And on the surface, you only look a little undecisive and confused. So these are some of the examples that I feel that we have to, that's when we have to hold on to the pillar of God and say, I surrender to you. Give me the answers. And that's when you do meditation. And when you do the meditation, your God will speak to you, and God will tell you, go ahead, tell the truth and get it out of your system. Or he may say, you have been cheating, accept it, face it. And when God says face it, he will also help you face it. So whatever we have studied in those 3 verses, the answer we get, all these solutions, even if you go to a psychiatrist or someone for help, the answers will come from within you and with the power of God, because we are the machine sitting on that Prakriti material energy. And those are my thoughts.
Thank you so much, Urmil. Beautiful, beautiful. Let me do the Shanti Path. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Viseshyate Om Shanti 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 Om.